I'm here to talk about fire safety and how to prevent fire and how to prepare for fire. You remember in our last video, I mentioned that one of the way to prevent fire is to prepare for fire. And when I said that, I mentioned that one of the way to prevent fire or to prepare for fire is having a safe place where you keep your house key, your office key, so that you can be able to reach it. And I mentioned you should have at least one or two places where you keep your house key, so that if you don't find your key in one particular place, you find it in the other. And I also mentioned having a safe route to escape, a safe escape route in a building. And I mentioned if you go to a story building or two-story, three-story building, and you do not have a safety route in that building, you are in for a big deal. And I mentioned that in American movies, you see in some Black American movies, yeah, most times you see that there is a upstairs, like there's a staircase at the back of the building where you can come down. That is the main reason, which is, I mean, fire outbreak is the main reason why those buildings have those staircase down. And if you check most of our buildings here in Nigeria, they do not have the safety right down through the back. So now, and I mentioned that when you do not have such building, what do you look out for? You look out for a safety way down. I mean, if you're in a 3 or 4 story building, there should be not just one entrance to the building. There should be at least 2 or 3 entrance going up and coming down. In the sense that maybe um a safe spot that is locked in the building, that maybe it's not an entrance, and they call it emergency route or emergency entrance. That is even churches have it. If you go to churches, the church does not have a particular way in. They have at least 3 to 4 places where you can go in case of accident. The doors are not just for fancy. They have their own reasons, and I've mentioned that. And today, still on familiarizing with escape route, we're going to talk about alarms. If you go into a building, a story building or two-story building, a workspace that does not have an alarm, it's a danger. It's a danger zone. Why did I say so? If fire accident break in floor 2 and you're in floor 3 or floor 5, or fire breaks out in stuff in floor 5 and you're in floor 3, how would you be alert? How would you know that there's fire in the building? The fire safety alarm is one of the things you should look out for, so you don't get stuck in a burning building. Because when a fire safety alarm, and most hotels have it, I think the name for it is fire sensor. Yes, the fire sensor, it helps people know that there's fire in the building. It rings, and I think it sends an alarm. The fire sensor sends smoke. So yeah, those are one of the things you should look out for when you go to I said preparing for fire. These are one of the things that should be in place. These are one of the things you should see in place. Then other things are the extinguisher. Every house, I recommend every house should have an extinguisher, a fire extinguisher. In the office, you should have a fire extinguisher. Now, I'm going to talk about elevator. Do not make the mistake of using an elevator when there's a fire outbreak. Why did I say so? In most cases, when there's a fire outbreak, people, they tend to turn off electricity. And when electricity is turned off, imagine you in an elevator when the building's on fire and the electricity is turned off, because fire and electricity, they work together. They work hand in hand. So if the electricity is turned off, you'll be stuck in the elevator. Okay, let's say the electricity is not turned off. You're in the elevator and something happens. You might be electrocuted to death. Another thing is, let's say you use the elevator and on your way down, it got stuck. You'll be roasted to death, or you'll be cooked to death. The heat in the elevator. Elevator is not plastic, it's iron. So do not make the mistake of using an elevator when there's a fire outbreak or you hear that there's a fire accident. Now, another thing we should look out for, I mentioned having a fire safety alarm. I've mentioned having a safe place where you keep your house key. I've mentioned knowing and having a safety route Do not use an elevator. In our next video, we'll be talking about every other things that we need to know about fire and fire safety. Bye guys, see you next time.